Welcome to the latest in our Picks and Ponderings video previews. I'm Paul Major of Picks and Ponderings. I can be found on the joint at Picks Ponderings Twitter account for Chicago Now, and also as on Twitter as at HeyLaserbeam. In 2005, Churchill Downs created Stars of Tomorrow, taking the idea of running not just one 2-year-old race, but a whole day of 2-year-old races. It's a concept that even Churchill Downs has imitated. They have now 2 Stars of Tomorrow cards that bookend their fall November meet, and other tracks have caught on too. But for star power, Stars of Tomorrow, that's 2 days Stars of Tomorrow in late November, is often imitated, never duplicated. Stars of Tomorrow 2 features 2 stakes. We have a video preview of the Goldenrod, the filly complement of the race we're going to talk here about, on the Chicago Now website. But in this preview, stay tuned for a look at the Grade 2 Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes. 1 1/16 on the dirt, 2-year-olds going the 2 turns on going 2 turns on Churchill dirt that maybe about 5-6 months from now, they'll do as 3-year-olds in some little race called the Kentucky Derby. 5 winners of the Kentucky Jockey Club have gone on to Kentucky Derby glory, the most recent of them being Super Saver, winning this race in 2009 and the Derby in 2010. The Kentucky Jockey Club goes as the 11th race on the Stars of Tomorrow 2 card, post time of about 5:35 Eastern. It sees a full field, 14 in the gate, with plenty of options to go with. Now, a lot of people are going to look at us at one horse coming back from Breeders' Cup Day as a potential runner. And I'm not going in that direction at all. I'm going to go to the number 10, Mo Tom, using an angle that has been very prevalent throughout the year, and that is the stellar performance of Uncle Mo progeny at 2. Mo Tom has the Uncle Mo Indian Charlie sire line going for him, and has Corey Lannery to ride for Tom Amoss. Now you're going to see some trainer change lines on this, but this is just jibber jabber. Mo Tom has been bouncing between the Crease Richard barn and the Tom Amoss barn. This is jibber jabber because both of these trainers work for Midwest Thoroughbreds. They're friends and they're buddies. They just swap the horse. They're just swapping the horse around. They're just changing the trainer form. Nothing to see. Move along. So any first off the trainer stats are jibber jabber, meaningless. Now. There are, of course, jockey trainer stats to look at, and that's more relevant, considering that Lannery and Amoss don't get together that often, but when they do, it's fairly successful, albeit at low odds. But Corey Lannery has been riding the Churchill Mead with a vengeance, and he climbs aboard Mo Tom, quoted at 8-1 on the morning line. Mo Tom comes out of a win in the 1-turn Mile Street Stakes. That was on Stars of Tomorrow 1 day, which opened the Churchill meet. In the 1-turn mile, he came from mid-pack. He came from about mid-pack and made a nice move to defeat fellow entrant Tom's Ready by a length. It was a 2-length lead in the stretch, but it looks like the closers just finally decided to kick in and make the race interesting. Idea remains is that this one should do well around 2 turns. The sire line says that 2 turns is fine. Tom Amoss as a trainer does well, and Tom Amoss as a trainer does well in these late 2, early 3 runs. I'm not a fan of Tom Amoss when he gets to, say, March and April with a horse that's 2 or 3, but it's not March or April yet. We're running this race 2 days after Thanksgiving, and that's okay. And so is the 8-1 morning line on Mo Tom. he'll break from post 10 in the Kentucky Jockey Club. One spot to the left of Motom, pending scratches and entry funny business, is number 9, More Spirit. Bob Baffert comes out to this race and brings Martin Garcia along. Now, Baffert and Garcia do know something about winning on Stars of Tomorrow Day. Ask about Dortmund, and he'll tell, and that's where you'll get that discussion from. So you've got Baffert and Garcia. Nothing wrong with Garcia taking the reins from Gary Stevens. And Baffert and Garcia obviously do great work together out west. He's 7-2 on the morning line. A fine sire line, beating by a fine sire line Escondrea, Giants Causeway. Being out of a Dixie Union mare 2 turns again for him should be no issue. In fact, 2 turns is no issue because that's how he won last time at Santa Anita, going a 2-turn mile. He broke his maiden in that race and pulled off of the pace to be among the pressing pack. I don't see a ton of devoted forward ridiculous speed. So maybe More Speed can settle into a nice 3-wide trip and be around when the late running begins. We come to perhaps the horse that's going to take all of the money in this race, and that's number 3, Arrow Force. Julien Leparoux rides for trainer Mark Casse, and this is a horse who put egg on my face in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. We did pick and pass segments with him, and this was the horse I passed on. And he nearly won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, losing by neck to Aidan O'Brien, to the Aidan O'Brien shipper hit it a bomb. Okay, Arrow Force clowned me. I'm going to admit it. I was not smart. Mark Casse had a very stellar Breeders' Cup at a time when I thought the Casse stable was going the wrong way. And Leparoux Casse are a team that's going the right way. According to the Brisnet stats, 7 of 15 in the win column in the last 2 months, 73% of the money, and a strong ROI. Dirt should be fine for Arrow Force by Colonel John out of a QV mare. 2 turns should be fine for him. In fact, he's done great work. In fact, the BC Juvenile Turf and his win in the Grade 3 Bourbon were 2 turns. The question is if he can handle dirt, and if Casse thinks he can handle dirt, considering he had some morning works on dirt. Maybe they weren't recorded during the Breeders' Cup, but they were there. He's also got morning recorded workouts at Churchill on the dirt, and they appear to be fine. If we're not workout reporters, and we're not at Churchill Downs to say it, but if Arrow Force can handle dirt, he's certainly a player in this. You have to use him, but you have to use him defensively at worst, and certainly in any type of multi-race wager. The problem is you're not going to get any sort of tote value whatsoever. He's 3-1. He's 3-1 on the morning line. And we often give a lot of guff to Mike Battaglia for morning lines that are not representative of reality. But this is a case where the favoritism makes sense. He's going to be about, and he's worth using, but I just like horses with slightly better tote quotes. So in the Grade 2 Kentucky Jockey Club, the 11th of 12 on the Stars of Tomorrow 2 card on Saturday the 28th from Churchill, I like the number 10, Motom, at 8-1 on the morning line, over number 9, More Spirit, at 7-2 on the morning line, slotting number 3, Arrow Force, at 3-1 on the morning line, third. For a long shot to watch, we're going to go to the home team. Yes, it's time. Yes, we haven't had our little Chicago connection moment here on the Picks and Pondering, so let's have it right now with the very first horse on the page, and that's Force It from Pope. That's Force It. Manny Esquivel to ride for Cheryl Weinbach. The two sprints to Fawcett goes 2 sprints to a rout. Okay, not a great stat. Weinbach's only a 1 for 6 with it. But Fawcett does have some things going for him that are quite likable. There doesn't appear to be a ridiculous amount of front end gas in the Grade 2 Kentucky Jockey Club. And Manny Esquivel, from his days of riding Hawthorne's ridiculously long stretches, does know how to put a rating gear into a horse if he has to put a rating gear into a horse. Oh, sure, he can take a race he can take a race on the front end, but he does have a good sense of pace. And that will be useful as he goes back to 2 turns Sure, he ran some 2-turn races, but there was a 2-turn race on the grass at Arlington, and there was a 1-mile race over the undulating Kentucky Downs course. But he does deserve another chance to go 2 turns, by being by more than ready out of a Dan silly mare. He should be able to handle a mile and a 16th. It might even be a better distance for him than the 6 panels he's been racing at. Ever since Cheryl Weinbach put this one on dirt, and after those turf starts, the light bulb has gone on with Fawcett. He won with aplomb at Hawthorne early in the meet at about 10-1 on the tote board, and then he franked that with a win in a first level allowance at Churchill. He's moving in the right direction. He's got the pedigree to move in the right direction, and he's got odds and he's got a very favorable 20-1 on the morning line. We like Fawcett to be a potential force in the Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes. So let's recap our Kentucky Jockey Club picks for Picks and Ponderings. We like the number 10, Mo Tom. We're riding the hot hand of Corey Lannery here. He's 8-1 on the morning line. Over the number 9, More Spirit at 7-2 on the morning line. Slotting number 3, Aeroforce, third at 3-1 on the morning line. The long shot to watch, number 1, Fawcett at 20-1 on the morning line. Have a happy Thanksgiving holiday and good luck at the windows from all of us at Picks and Ponderings.